What is going on, guys? Johnny on the track back with another new video here. Apologies, we're a day late. You guys know we record on Tuesday nights, but we planned a very special guest, one that I tried to get him on last week. Things didn't work out, so I said, let's do Texas. Why not, right? Nice mile and a half. This guy knows what he is doing. Let's give him the intro he deserves. All right. He is a NASCAR bettor, one of the best, in my opinion, if not the best NASCAR bettor. He bets trucks, he bets Xfinity, he bets Cup. He's a NASCAR content creator. He's a TikTok star. He's one of, if not the most requested guest, like in terms of like betting. My fans have reached out and said you got to get Dale on. I'll first of all, it's Dale Tanhardt. There he is. Dale, thanks for joining. I appreciate it, my man.
Yeah, no. Did you say TikToks? Oof, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. No, look, I appreciate the kind words. It's kind of been, I think anybody in the betting field this year in NASCAR terms has seen how wild it's been from an up and down standpoint. And yeah, Texas is going to be more of the same, I would think. I'm sure you feel the same way. But no, I hope we get some good racing this weekend. It's a triple header. And then we got the Cup race on Sunday. So thanks for having me on. And I'm excited to talk about the slate coming up.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I do want to say one thing. So one thing I left out, obviously I gave your name at the end there, but one thing I left out is this guy on the screen to my right here is also a very, very nice guy. And I want to tell you why. I want to give the story of how I met this guy. So obviously I've been watching Dale's stuff for probably since like 2021, kind of when I started doing some some NASCAR stuff. And I was in Daytona. I hopped out of my Uber for the Daytona 500, and I see Dale is that at Sunoco, Dale? I forget. What is that?
I think it is. It's
It's
like
a
a real small gas station that has like the outside bathroom. You got to go inside, get the key for,
Yep,
I
yep.
think it was a Sunoco, but I'm not for sure.
I believe it is because the Sunoco gate is right over there, so I feel like it has to be. Anywho, so I get out of my Uber and I spot Dale, and I was with my dad at the time. I'm like, oh shit, that's Dale. I know Dale. He bets. He does what I do. And I kind of walk by. I see you. Now Dale's on the phone talking to somebody. So he is probably an important phone call. I think he's trying to find the guy that he's going to the race with. Maybe I'm wrong, but anyway, I see him. He kind of makes eye contact with me, and I give him like, "Hey Dale, what's going on, man? Like big fan." But I see he's on the phone. So normally I feel like most people at that moment would just like, "Hey, like just wave and kind of go about our days." So I kind of keep walking and I hear Dale say, "Hey, hold on. Can you give me a second? Wait a minute." Puts the phone down, walks over to me, and we have like a nice like 2 to 3 minute conversation. And like, dude, that was like you didn't have to do that. That was a super nice thing to do. So I appreciate it. And then obviously I reached out to Dale just thanking him, like, dude, it was cool to see you, cool to meet you. Love what you do. Keep doing what you're doing. But I did want to share that story because I think it's important. I always remember, like, even the drivers that I've met years going to races, like, you remember the guys that are like, that guy was just a nice dude, like a fun guy to talk to, seems like a good time. And so, yeah, all that to say, man, that was a cool thing. You didn't have to do that. But for the fans watching, this guy's a nice guy as well.
I appreciate that. I don't get that rap from most people who see me on the internet. So that's very nice of you to say. I think so. I was on the phone with my friend Julia. I was trying to find her and meet up with her so we could go into the track. And
Okay.
no, I totally agree with the last part you said about like I remember my first experiences with like drivers in the garage, and those first impressions I do think are like they're super important, and I always really appreciated anybody, and I'm not even just talking about drivers, but anybody in the industry who was polite and is polite to me. That speaks volumes, and man, it's nothing, man. I appreciate anyone coming up to me and saying hello. Talladega is a great place where there's a lot of us at Talladega in the
Yes.
infield and stuff. So there's plenty of interaction, and no, I just appreciate. That's cool that you followed since 2021. I mean, that's been a
Yes.
long time
Yes.
since I've been doing this since 2020. I feel like most of my following has come up in the last 2 years. So that's like, the OG status of us NASCAR bettors is very, very important, I feel like, in this world. So no, I appreciate the kind words and when's the next race you going to? Because hopefully I'll get to see it another one here soon and we can actually have
Drink a
a more
beer.
thorough conversation.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm going next weekend to Kansas. Never been to Kansas. I'm from Rhode Island.
Me
So,
neither.
yeah, long way to Kansas. But
Yeah, same.
I've got Kansas on the schedule. I've got Richmond on the schedule, New Hampshire obviously, and then I'm hitting Lime Rock for the truck race. So,
Oh, that'll be cool.
yeah.
Whoa. I want to go to that really bad.
Come
It's
on,
just so
man.
far from where I live,
Come
man.
on.
That's going to be a cool one. That's going to be fun. I'm really excited for that race on the schedule. Like super excited. I'm a big trucks guy too, obviously, but like Lime Rock is a very, very cool track.
Very cool. It's rare to get like it's basically a mile and a half road course, which like that doesn't happen in the NASCAR circuit. So I can't wait. Lime Rock is an awesome, awesome facility. So if there's any, I mean, I know a lot of my following is from New England, so I feel like a lot of people watching this show will show up to that one. But what about you before we get into the good stuff? What other tracks you hitting this year?
Yeah, I think I'll be at Nashville.
Okay.
And like this weekend, I had that question at Talladega. And I'm like, my next one's Nashville. It's like super far away. And then the season just flown by. It's not that far away. It's in like a month. Like, dude, it's coming up quick. So Nashville, Indy 500, I think will be back to
Wow.
back
Nice.
weekends, I believe, and then I'll be at Atlanta for sure in the summer. That
Okay.
Saturday, we don't get enough Saturday night races in the Cup
No.
Series,
That's
right?
that
Like
Richmond one.
right, yeah. So getting Atlanta back to a Saturday night race like it was a few years ago that got rain shortened when William Byron won, like that's huge,
Yep.
especially at Atlanta. If anybody who's been to a summer Atlanta race in the daytime, it's just ungodly hot. I mean, it is so hot. And I'm from the South, so like I'm used to it, but like at the racetrack, it makes it a lot less fun when it's like unbearably hot. So excuse me. Atlanta, I'll be there in the summer. I might go back to Talladega in the fall
Okay.
again, and then maybe Daytona as well. And besides that, everything's just kind of wide open and play it by ear. But I'd like to be at Watkins Glen. That's like a bucket list track for me. And then I've been to Darlington multiple times, but I've never been to the Southern 500. So
Okay.
um, depending on when we do my fantasy football draft, we'll see about the Southern 500. But no, it's wide open for the rest of the year, man.
Love it. Love it. And yeah, you've got some good ones for sure. Atlanta, I mean that race is going to be epic because even like we talk about the package and the issues with the package, that race still somehow delivers. So,
Yeah.
that'll be good stuff. All right. So, let's get a little bit of statistics before we get into some of our bets. Um, One nugget that I found so interesting, and you and I were talking off air before, is this race last spring, 16 cautions at Texas, which tied the track record for the most cautions, and was the most cautions ever in a 400-mile race on a 1.5 mile cookie cutter track. So again, it just tells you that you can look at the numbers, you can feel good about the statistics, feel good about the speed of the car, but it sometimes just doesn't it just does not matter. We saw Ross Chastain. He had a heck of a hot rod last year. Was on the front row late in a restart in wrecks from second place. So again, like this is a track where restarts are tough. As easy as we say, the next gen car has been kind of like easy to drive at short tracks at some of these like the Vegas, the Kansas. Texas, that still does not seem to be the case. Like Texas has been tough for these drivers. So, Dale, are you expecting maybe not 16 cautions, but do you expect a higher number of cautions? I think Vegas, however, like a month ago was only like 6 cautions the whole race. And two of those are for the stage end. So, are you expecting kind of a wild race in terms of restarts and cautions?
Yeah, I am because that's what Texas has been in the Gen 7 era. And with this track, I mean, this track and this car that we have in Gen 7 is just such a perilous combination. By the way, if you hear a funny noise, it's my new dog snoring. She is enormous and she just fell asleep. So just be aware for that. It might pick up on the mic. She's sitting right next to me. But no, I think that it's just a perilous combination. You know, the Gen 7 car has the most odd characteristics in any stock car we've seen in our lifetimes, right? So what you have is a high grip racetrack that's perilous because if you get outside of that high grip area, which is the bottom lane, it's like you're on ice.
Hmm.
And that's what's been triggering or assisting and triggering a lot of these wrecks. The most common wreck last year was off a turn four or kind of after three into turn four, a car get up in that second lane, and then the next part of this perilous combination is how aero sensitive these cars are. So depending on who's in front of you, what like how far in front of you they are, you're going to get a handling issue with the way that this air hits these Gen 7 race cars, which is horrendous, right? We complain about it a lot on the short
Hmm.
tracks and you got to have multiple grooves, right? To pass. And that's why Vegas, Kansas, Charlotte are have been pretty good for the Gen 7. And Texas has been exciting, but the combination of this car and that big trouble spot in turn four, where you saw so many guys wreck last year, and even turns one and two is that big wide corner where it's the same thing. If you get up too high, you're on ice and you're likely to spin out. So it is just an elite combination for chaos. You know, when I look at driver averages, Kyle Larson is 22nd amongst all active drivers. And that just does not tell the tale. Kyle Larson's led a bunch of laps here since 2022 and just has just always had trouble. Last year in this race, had a loose wheel from the lead. So it's just an elite combination for utter chaos. So, you know, I expect more of the same this year just because this car just does not race well in single lane racetracks. And with the racetrack being as slippery as it is outside that bottom groove, just an unbelievable combination like we saw last spring.
Yeah, no, good stuff. So all that to say, people watching, is be careful with your bets this week, but also should make for a fairly exciting race. I feel like the last couple have been, a little bit of a snooze fest. I thought Talladega was pretty entertaining. But however you want to talk about Talladega, I think this is not going to be a snooze fest. There's going to be a lot of action throughout the duration of this race. I wholeheartedly agree with Dale. So let's start with some money line bets. Dale, I'll start with one that I placed last night, I believe. And so how this was work, we can go back and forth. I'll give two if you want to give two. Perfect. I'm going to start with Chase Briscoe. He's now down to plus 1400, 14 to 1 on DraftKings. I was able to place him on Rhode Island Sportsbook 22 to 1. So if we've got the Rhode Island fans, if it's still there, I would take it. I look at Chase Briscoe. He's got three top 10 finishes and a top five finish in his last three races at Texas. He's got the third best average finish since 2022. So basically the next gen era at Texas. Does he have the best car? No, not really. Is he like one of the faster cars at the past few years? No. But like AJ Allmendinger at Homestead, Miami, Chase Briscoe, it seems, just finds a way to find his way up to the front and just stay there. And as Dale said, it's a single race, a single groove racetrack. It's tough to pass. Chase Briscoe is smart. He gains track position, and he was doing this in a Stewart Haas Racing Ford. Now he's in a Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota. This is a track that has been very good to Briscoe in the next gen era. I like him a lot this week. I think 20 shop around because 14 to 1, I don't love that as much as say 17 to 1. We'll meet in the middle for the 14 and the 22. But I like Briscoe a lot. Obviously, his teammate Denny Hamlin has been exceptional at Texas, bringing fast cars, finishing in the top five. So I like Briscoe here a lot. Dale, what are your thoughts on Briscoe? And then I'll have you pick a money line as well.
Yeah, and to add on to that, BetMGM has Chase Briscoe 20 to 1. If you
Nice.
have that, and Bet Rivers, the Canby books, so Bet Rivers, Bally, maybe a couple others have 22 to 1, which is the
Yep.
line you spoke of. So 20 to 1 or better is available on several mainstream books, actually. So you can't, Chase Briscoe, it's interesting because Martin Truex was good here in the number 19 car, and it's basically the same team. Remember I think it was 2022 when we had the tire debacle. He was leading mid late in that race when he blew a tire. So the Gibbs cars have been good enough here, I think, to warrant that. My thing with Chase Briscoe is when it seems like he's starting to figure it out. Forget Talladega, they finished outside the top 15, but you look how well he was at Bristol, Homestead, or where he finished, multiple top fives. I feel like at these technical racetracks, he's kind of got a little bit of momentum, or at least kind of figuring out this Toyota Camry, which he's talked about publicly, how different it is than Stewart Haas Racing equipment. Like he's had to adjust his driving style. So, yeah, and with the chaos, if he doesn't have the
Hmm.
best car, like you're kind of insinuating, if you get a little bit of chaos, this is a guy that has somehow found a way to survive through it to get some pretty good finishes since 2022 in lesser equipment. So, Chase Briscoe, 22 to 1, I don't think is too bad. I'm going to go more on the favorite side. I think we got to talk about Ryan Blaney. We mentioned him
Absolutely.
when we were talking off air, how weird of a ridiculous year it's been. I'm also disappointed with this guy for not chugging that like quarter beer on that WWE, which I'm not a WWE guy, but if you get on national TV at a sporting event and you have a beer in your hand, you have to drink the whole thing.
Yep.
And it
Especially
wasn't
when
even a
in a
full
cup,
beer.
when we can see it.
Yep, and it's in a cup. It's going to go down easier too. Like it wasn't even a quarter beer. So, my biggest issue to contradict what I'm about to go into is him not finishing that beer could be a curse for the foreseeable future. But I'm going to
Maybe.
go with, people may not realize it, but in my bets, like most of the time, I'm a what's most likely to happen type of better. And Ryan Blaney and that team has brought the best race car to the track at several of these technical tracks in 2025. I mean, they've been lights out on speed and they've been horrific in getting the finishes. So if we can actually get a finish at a track that Blaney's had success at, remember he did win the All-Star race here. I believe that was spring or summer 2022.
Hmm.
Before his last two Texas starts, where he's been involved in incidents, two straight top fives, and in these last two Texas races where he had incidents, he was running in the top five at the end of stage two in
Yep.
both of them. So I think last year he got wrecked by Ryan Preece. I think I remember this beef that they had. I always go and watch the prior races around Wednesday night, Thursday night. So TBD on that. But I think he got wrecked by Ryan Preece in a weird deal. Anyway, Blaney and that team have brought phenomenal speed to the racetrack in 2025. At some point, they're going to capitalize. And this is a track, a mile and a half. They've had success at before. They've had dominant speed. So I think you should shop around and find a Ryan Blaney ticket while you can, because I guarantee they're going to go out this weekend. They're going to practice super well. They're going to qualify well. And there's potential to get some CLV right now if you bet him at 9 to 1, because I could see him being right there with Larson by the time the green flag drops around 5 to 1, 6 to 1 range. If you practice super well, leads the charge in the lap averages category, he's going to have some movement. So if I wanted to play something right now, I like the Chase Briscoe as a good underdog in top tier equipment and with a Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota, but Ryan Blaney's in top tier equipment that has had winning speed. So let's start there at 9 to 1.
I'm with you 100%. I have it right down on my list here. And what did I write? I don't care. Plus 900 to get Blaney from what we've seen is an exceptional number. At essentially every single racetrack we've gone to this year, he's had a top three car. And so when you look at that, when you think about that, what that number should be 5 to 1, in my opinion. When you're top three contender, speed of the car every single race, you should be in that Larson category of like you open up around 5 to 1, and that's that. Blaney, the odds makers are really underrating him because like if they've watched a lot of these races, he's had the best car. And let's just say, first of all, to your point, he's going to practice well, he's going to qualify well. But let's say Texas is a little different and there actually are maybe some long runs. that plays into Ryan Blaney as well because he's had the best long car at every place we've gone to, especially the mile and a half. So I love Blaney here. My eyes lit up when I look at the board and see 9-1 for Ryan Blaney. I think you have to place that now. It's only going to get closer to that 5-1 number, like I talked about. So I like Blaney a lot. I'll
And
let
I
you take
think
another one.
one more point on that. I think
Yeah.
people will look and say, well, Bristol, he wasn't great. I mean, I felt like he was a seventh place race car. He ended up fifth. They did a different strategy and made up some spots at the end. Darlington, they were top five. Should have won that race. They had the
Mm-hmm.
best car. Vegas, unbelievable speed.
Yep.
They get involved in a wreck once they had gotten, I think they'd gotten lapped, got back in the lead lap finally after a pit issue, wrecked on a restart. Homestead blew an engine, best car.
Yep.
Phoenix, best car, blew an engine. I mean, or one of the best cars. So what sticks out to me is the variety of racetracks that they've unloaded with the best car at is unprecedented in 2025. I
Yeah.
mean, that's that's a short flat, that's a decent high medium grip mile and a half. It's a mile and a half that is excessive tire wear, and then it's Darlington, which is unlike anything. So that speaks volumes with Ryan Blaney.
100%. And all that to then say, and he's 9-1. He's plus 900. You put $100 down, you're winning 900. I mean, that's a heck of a bet. So, I'm gonna go right back to you though, Dale. Give us another money line.
Yeah, man. I with the chaos, this is good. You know, you gave a long shot. I'll throw out a long shot. I'm gonna stick with the Gibbs team with Ty Gibbs. I feel like
Okay.
similar to Chase Briscoe, kind of have some momentum rolling at some of these more technical racetracks. Because Talladega obviously throws a snag into the schedule when we see how that race is every year. But you know, Texas has been a place where a few first time winners have come through. And it's kind of a gut play, right? You know, Ty Gibbs, you look at the data, maybe, you know, nothing crazy here, but as that team has gotten better, their pit crew's been fantastic. They've got a little bit of momentum. I think this is a guy that no one's going to be talking about all year long. I think no one's going to be talking about Ty Gibbs this weekend. I think he's going to qualify well. I think he's going to be fast in practice. This is a track position racetrack, and if you can avoid the chaos, you're in position to win. So, I'm gonna go with another Gibbs guy, the Gibbs guy, and Ty Gibbs. Not as much for data. You know, you look at the data and you say, what is this guy talking about? But for some recency bias, a little bit of momentum, and the guy getting closer, or it seems like returning to getting closer to grabbing that first W like he was in 2024. So Ty Gibbs, 30-1, I think is a decent underdog play.
I like it a lot. The minute Ty and I firmly believe that Ty Gibbs is going to win a race this year. The minute he does win a race, the people that bet on him are going to make a heck of a lot of money. Because to your point, he's always 30-1 or longer. He's 25-1 on DraftKings. As you talking, I was pulling up DraftKings to see what he's at. 25-1. Don't
30-1 is on FanDuel, by the way, just for
Okay,
clarity.
perfect. I like that a lot. 25-1. I guess I can take it or leave it. But what I will say about Ty Gibbs, the minute they made that crew chief swap, um, he's been a different driver, and I think it's like been the last three races he's had a new guy at the helm. And it's been like a different team, quite frankly. And I'm a huge believer in Ty Gibbs. I've like always been a believer in Ty Gibbs. And like I said, he will win this year. We just got to find the day, Dale, that he does win, and then we'll make some good change on that one. I like it a lot. I probably will tail that, to be honest with you, if I can find it at 30-1. I guess FanDuel, there it is. So um what do I got one more. You gave out Ryan Blaney more of a favorite at 9-1. I think we also have to look at Tyler Reddick, and I know Tyler Reddick has sort of had a little bit of a down year, sort of in a little bit of a slump. But this is a track where 2311 has been really, really good. I like to always give out, and I'll give a couple out at the end. I always like to give out these props for winning team. One I'm super high on is 2311 as a winning team. But Reddick and Wallace, they rank 2 and 3 in laps led since 2022. So in the next gen era at Texas, they've led a lot of laps. Reddick has won here. He's got two top fives as well as a top 10. So he's had some really good results here. I actually think this is a spot on the schedule that is a perfect spot for Tyler Reddick to gain some confidence. Bubba Wallace has been better than Tyler Reddick this year. I mean, you can't really argue that, in my opinion. The numbers say it, the speed of the car says it, the confidence of the driver says it. But Tyler Reddick, I feel like, needs a track like this to gain a bit of confidence and find that kind of extra gear that we all know. Like, he's a championship four contender, and he will be for the next X amount of years. I think this is a great spot on the schedule. We had the off week. Then we have Talladega. I feel like he's been waiting for a race like this to get back on a nice mile and a half. It's a track he's won at not too long ago. So I'm going to take Tyler Reddick at 7.5 to 1. I again, to the Blaney point, I think that's going to shift. Like I wouldn't be surprised on race day we wake up and that's more towards 6 to 1. So I'm going to take it now in hopes that it doesn't slide back, but maybe you take it again if it does slide back. But I feel like Tyler Reddick, from what I've seen from 2311 at Texas, I like this bet a lot.
No, I do too. And if you, I believe if you went back and watched this race last year, you'd find that he was in, I'll call it a borderline winning position in the third stage. I can't remember if he got into an accident or what happened, but he was leading laps, and I believe he was leading in a later portion of the race when a caution came out and got shuffled on the restart, as we kind of mentioned.
Hmm.
Restarts are chaos here because of the how only one lane has enough grip to maybe not have a problem, and
Yeah.
still you still get a problem when you're behind another car. So not the right. I mean, you go into turn one here. There's no telling what can happen when a car plows tight from dirty air. I mean, we've seen it a bunch since 2022. But no, love Tyler Reddick. Him and Bubba Wallace have been great here. Remember, Bubba kind of gave up that win in fall 2023 to William Byron in the waning laps. So, and Bubba, I think too, was running up front in this race last year when he had some type of issue.
Yep.
I can't remember who it was, but I think he spun out, may have rebounded, not for sure. But Tyler Reddick, I think, is a good pick too at this price. And I think the board this weekend is not bad. I feel like we've gone into a lot of these race weeks, and as a community said, man, the odds are just awful this week. They're
Yeah.
awful this week. I feel like we've said that so many times throughout 2025. But when I look at the board this week, I think it's actually not as bad as we've seen at other technical racetracks. So, with that being said, I'm going to go with Kyle Larson. Go to
Okay.
DraftKings at 5 to 1. I think it's worth betting. I really do. He's running the Xfinity race now with Connor Zilisch, stepping out with that injury post Talladega. So now he's running the Xfinity race. He's probably going to just dog walk him there. But
Yeah.
in the Cup car, as I said early, the chaos has been off the chain here. I think maybe finally we get one of these races where Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney, two of the guys who have consistently unloaded with some of the best cars at technical racetracks in 2025, one of those guys goes to victory lane. So give me Kyle Larson 5 to 1. I think he's going to practice well. I think he's going to qualify well, and I think he's going to have a good shot at the win on Sunday.
In a classic, first of all, he had, I believe he's won here in the next gen era. Actually, no, it was the year before. Now that I think of it, but anyway, he has won at Texas before, and on top of that, if you look at laps led since 2022, he's led the most laps. So obviously, not always he's had the best luck, but it just shows you he's always running up front. So we'll go with what we gave there. Blaney, Reddick, and Larson as kind of those top dogs, more favorites, and then some underdog bets in Chase Briscoe and Ty Gibbs. I like that a lot. Let's move more towards the top five, top 10 category. I'll start with one here, and I think you're gonna hate me for this, but I really feel confident in this one. Joey Logano, top five, plus 180. And plus 180, I honestly I don't love the number, but I just love Logano this weekend. He's got 12 career top fives here. Now, most of those came a long, long time ago. in the glory days when he was actually winning a lot of races and not so much winning championships. Now he's not really winning a lot of races, but
Yeah.
winning championships. Um, but I will say, really good track over the years for Logano. And to me, he is a guy, Dale, and I think you'll agree with this, that fuels off people hating him, that fuels off the shit talking, that fuels off you're a jerk, you're a D, like all this stuff of people just ridiculing him all week. There is not a better spot that I want Joey Logano in this week when everybody Chipper Jones is telling him he's an a-hole. Like to me, Joey Logano is going to get in behind the wheel this weekend and be dangerous and race with no care in the world. And I love that. Again, plus 180, like even the money line when I saw Logano, I was like, that seems a little like it should be more closer to the 20 to 1 range in my opinion. But his teammate's been super fast, so maybe they can learn a little bit. He's always aggressive on strategy, and if you can get out front, you get clean air, you'll feel pretty good. So I like Logano here, top five. You might hate it, you might love it. To be honest, I don't care. I'm placing it.
Oh yeah, I hate it. I do hate
I
it.
figured. I think
Uh,
most will.
Plus 285, by the way, is available on Canby. So you got
Okay.
a
All
Canby
right.
book, Bally, Bet Rivers, you can get plus 285. And 2.5 to plus 250 is available on FanDuel. So,
Good
I
stuff.
mean, those are some decent lines, I would say, just because of the circumstances. I can see them pulling some type of strategy like they pulled at Vegas or Nashville and winning this race. Like you said, I'm a Logano hater, right? But there's no question you're spot on. He is best under pressure. He's best when his back is against the wall. He's best in scenarios that just seem impossible. And Las Vegas, Nashville, two of his wins last year that helped him get a championship are perfect examples of that, especially if you look back at Nashville. I mean, talk about chaos. Texas could be a race that looks a lot like Nashville did in 2024. So, I probably won't bet it unless they come out and show some speed and practice and qualifying. But um, you're right. Chipper Jones, man. Whose side are we on? Are we on Chipper Jones, Joey Logano? I'm going with my guy Chipper on the beef. On the beef conversation. I think it's hilarious, by the way, honestly. But no, I think. At plus 285, it's doable, but I'm going to go towards the top 10 market. FanDuel constantly has some variance here. It just is always showing some discrepancies in top 10 numbers relative to some of these other books. For example, I'm going to look at Cole Custer.
Okay.
Same type of thing, right? I mean, you talk about Joey Logano not having a lot of speed this year. We go back to Bristol a couple weeks ago, they were getting lapped. Cole Custer's in that category on steroids. I mean, they have not come to a racetrack with a lot of speed yet. But when I look at Cole Custer, he's 10 to 1 for a top 10 on DraftKings. He is 27 to 1 for a top 10 on FanDuel.
Really?
This is absolutely the chaos factor. If
Wow.
we keep talking about all the chaos, we see. I mean, this is a situation where you're taking the number because it's a guy that we've seen be competitive before. We have some belief in his driving abilities with how many races he's won at the Xfinity level. Um, you wonder if they can just survive, run around the top 15, run around the top 20. You get a bunch of these wrecks like we had in this race 1 year ago.
Hmm.
Is 27 to 1 worth it? I think it is. And I'll add one more bonus in there too. Sticking with FanDuel, Zane Smith. Zane Smith has been very, very consistent this year. It seems like every time you look up mid race, late race, they're top 15 on speed, which is super important because we've seen the struggles out of the Ford camp at some of these technical racetracks. It seems like it's Ryan Blaney or nobody,
Hmm.
in the Ford camp. So, Zane Smith has been one of these guys. And I remember Darlington, he drove up into the top six just on pure speed at one point. So I think Zane Smith in this front row equipment they've kind of started gelling. Zane's got some experience in the Cup car now after that full year with Spire in 2024, where he really struggled for the majority of the season until later. But I think at 12 to 1 for a top 10. Once again, FanDuel with these discrepancies. You look at DraftKings, 5.5 to 1. You're getting double the value, more than double the value if you go to FanDuel and bet a top 10 on Zane Smith. So, a couple underdog props right there, I think, are worth a shot if you get a lot of the chaos that we've seen here in Gen 7 NASCAR.
That is unbelievable to me. Unbelievable to me. 27 to 1 for a top 10. I mean,
Right, like that. When you hear that, you're like, okay, Cole Custer, but most people should be like, whoa, because
yeah.
that's a top 10 line you would see for Cody Ware, for
Yes.
BJ McLeod, for teams and drivers that are just off the deep end versus most of the field, right?
Yeah.
And we know Cole Custer is not a complete bum. I
No.
mean, he can drive the Xfinity car super, super competitively. And I'm not just going to give up on that equipment yet. I think while the number's there, we should take a stab at it. So,
I like it. I like it. So we've got Logano top five. We've got Custer top 10. We've got Zane Smith top 10 as well from FanDuel. I'm gonna go one more. I'll give us one more top five here. And probably again, there's probably a better number on FanDuel right now for this, but I like Bubba Wallace top five. He's been great. Again, 23-11. As I said, ranked 2 and 3 in laps led since 2022 in the next gen era at Texas. So it just shows you they have a good solid average running position. They run up front. Bubba Wallace, to Dale's point, scored points in the stages last year. So he was running well last year and then had an issue late. I think still ended up finishing seventh. So yeah, seventh last year, third 2 years ago. So Bubba has had a lot of success at this track. We saw how good he was at Homestead, Miami. He had a fast car at Vegas, had an issue there, but had a good car. Nearly won Homestead, Miami, and again another mile and a half track. And these are the tracks where Bubba Wallace always shows up for the Kansas, the Texas, the Charlottes, right? And so to me, Bubba Wallace plus 225 for a top five is a good number. Dale, what do you got on FanDuel for us? Is it better?
tell me that line you had one more time.
225 on
Okay.
top five.
Yeah. So once Canby plus 285, same price as Joey Logano is the best that I see so far. The only one I haven't looked at is BetMGM. Yeah, no, that's the best you're going to see is over on Canby plus 285. The books are actually, I mean, you've noticed this week they're pretty high on him.
They are. They are.
To me, I'll be honest, like I like Bubba. He's been great here. But to me, it's crazy when he is cheaper for this race than he is at Talladega, where he's been phenomenal at. And it's another guy who's off coming off some momentum. He cashed a top Toyota ticket for me this past weekend, which was great, but he got a top 10 and has been very competitive in most of the races this year. As you said, they have really, really clicked on finishing races with good race cars. And that's
Hmm.
super important, I think, for him because that's the opposite of what they've done in prior years where they've had lightning fast race cars and they've had some type of issue. We remember the pit road issues they used to have in 2022
Yep.
and 2023. They've cleaned that up, maybe with some personnel changes, but the cars have been good. And in 2025, he's kind of set a different tone, getting the finishes. So you got the crew chief, Charles DeNike. I think he's made a pretty substantial difference coming up from Christian X's team in the Truck Series. They've unloaded with good speed. And maybe it's a good time to take him. If you get 16, 18 to 1, maybe not too bad. I think I'm willing to wait a little bit on Bubba Wallace. I feel like, as I said, he's 20 to 1 to win at Talladega, which has been a phenomenal track for him. He's great in the draft, but I'm seeing 16 to 1, 15 to 1, 18 to 1 on these books. I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit, but I don't hate the line that you are looking at for a top five. I'm curious about his top 10 while I'm looking here.
I saw like minus like 220. Maybe I'm wrong.
Here's here's a minus 155 and BetMGM.
It's
I
pretty
think
good.
that's bettable, right? Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
juice. You got to pay the juice, but that's somewhat bettable. I feel like if you think he's going to come out here and unload with great speed like he has in the past, minus 125 on DraftKings. That is
Wow.
absolutely bettable.
That's a good steal.
Absolutely. So, if I could lean in any direction with Bubba Wallace, check that minus 112 on Bet Rivers.
Okay.
So if you're getting almost even money for a top 10 for a guy that's done nothing but run in the top 10 at Texas, even with all the chaos, that seems like a pretty good bet to me. So if I could go in one direction, maybe I'd do like a 2 unit, 2.5 unit, close to a max bet on Bubba Wallace for a top 10, and then maybe sprinkle the outright. That's maybe where I would go with him. But um, if I'm giving out another prop here, um, I want to lean into the RFK conversation.
Ooh, okay.
We've talked about a lot of forwards, right? Brad Keselowski has had an abysmal year.
Yeah.
Abysmal. Him and Chris Buescher they could not have had a worse race at Talladega last year
Yep.
or last weekend, excuse me. But when I look at Keselowski, who's had good success here at Texas, getting through the chaos, he's got the second highest average finish at Texas since the beginning of the Gen 7 era, three top tens, one top five. And then Chris Buescher, I think maybe there's a world where you get a problem with Ryan Blaney, which we've seen all year long. Like
Yeah, I mean,
I want to bet the Blaney outright, but when the books are going to lay Ryan Blaney top forward at even money at every single one of these technical tracks, DraftKings says plus 150. If he has that common issue that he's had all year long, whether it's a blown engine, bad luck, getting involved in a wreck like he has at Texas, two races here in a row.
his pit
Uh,
crew Dale have been atrocious.
yeah, and the pit crew's been, yes, the pit crew has costed him a win at Darlington and maybe Vegas as well, if I could remember correctly. But if he has that issue, one issue, the top forward category is wide open.
Hmm.
So here, my strategy here would be check out DraftKings. BetMGM doesn't have manufacturer props yet. Um, but you look at DraftKings, Buescher and Keselowski, 5-1 and 6.5-1, respectively. Don't bet them yet because they always qualify poorly. The RFK cars just have not, especially Brad, just have not been great qualifiers. They always finish better than they qualify. I think I remember Brad last year qualifying like 32nd, 20 something. He finished third. So
Hmm.
maybe you keep an eye on that. I would anticipate that if Blaney goes out like I think he will and pace the field and practice and lap averages and qualify up front, that plus 150 line could be even money again, just talking about DraftKings. So
Yep.
if that happens, if he shrinks, you might see some other guys get a little bit longer, like a Buescher, like a Keselowski. I love the idea of betting them both. I've done it multiple times this year. It's paid off for me. So Buescher, Keselowski, both of them, pair them up for top forward post practice.
No, I like it a lot, right? I mean, again, like Blaney is clearly the fastest forward, and then it's just a wild card. Who shows up? Is it Logano? Is it Barry? Is it an RFK Ford? Is it Cole Custer? Heck, maybe maybe the chaos
Yeah.
ensues,
Zane
and he's
Smith. I mean,
is
Zane.
yeah.
Zane's had speed too. He's 30-1. So
So
you got
there,
options.
exactly. No, I like that a lot. I honestly I got to pay more closer attention to that stuff, especially like the top forward, because yeah, I feel like I've shied away from a lot of that stuff because Larson is always like top Chevy, like basically even money. Him and Byron, and then like Blaney's even money. But a lot of times, like you could have cashed big for the Josh Berry win at Vegas. I forget who obviously both the Fords got DQ'd, so I don't even know who was the top four, but essentially it was Ryan Preece was the top Talladega Ford.
Oh,
If that,
Cindric had it. Cindric
that's
was
right,
one.
Cindric had it,
But
but he
next up was up for grabs, right?
there
So
you go. So, yeah, I mean, I like that a lot. I'm gonna go in a prop direction as well. I talked about how much I'm high on 23-11 winning. If you do have winning team bets, I know they're not everywhere. DraftKings doesn't have them. I don't believe FanDuel has them as well. But if you do have them, 23-11 opened up, I believe, at 7-1. Or maybe, sorry, 6.5-1. That was the number. So essentially, if you're betting Reddick around 7.5-1, you can take the team and you can get basically a free Bubba bet as well for 6.5-1. I think that's pretty good. The other one, and again, Rhode Island Sportsbook had him yesterday, took it off, but I believe the number was 16-1. This is for Trackhouse to win. And you say to yourself, do I really want to bet on Daniel Suarez? Well, the numbers tell you you might want to. Suarez very, very, very good at this track. The fourth best average finish in the next year at Texas. Nearly somehow, again, a lot of it had to do with a good, late strategy, a little bit of luck, but he nearly won at Vegas. So lucky, but still, clean air is clean air. If you can get some luck in your favor, with again a track that he's obviously confident at, I like Suarez here, and then Ross. Like we've talked about how good Ross has been at mile and a half, especially Texas. He had a rocket ship. He had a rocket ship at this race last year. So essentially, you get, again, two guys for around 16, 17 to 1. You can probably shop around again if a lot of these books, you guys know I mainly bet on Rhode Island Sportsbook. They always have these. So around 17 to 1 to get Ross Chastain as well as his teammate. I think that's pretty good. Shane Van Gisbergen, and you could throw that out. I mean, he's not winning this race. But Suarez and Chastain, you couple them together for around 17 to 1. That's a pretty good bet to me.
Yeah, I do like I really like the 2311 one, right? Getting that price, I feel like is pretty good.
Yeah.
Usually as I'm trying to kind of find the comp on some of the mainstream books, Caesars. So interesting at the time of this recording, Caesars has had this crazy overreaction to the Kyle Larson news taking over Connor Zilich's ride for
Okay.
Xfinity. They've stripped all their odds down except for some matchups for the Cup race. It's
So
bizarre, but typically
that's
Caesars
same
will have
here.
that.
Same here. That's why I can't find these bets anymore. They've stripped their
It's
odds.
just terrible time. Yeah. So, I mean, BetMGM and DraftKings and fan like they've got lines up, but that best team prop, I typically see that on a Caesars or maybe a Bet 365. And a lot of this stuff's been blown out just over that news, which is so bizarre to me. But I'll talk about one guy, just not just outright, but maybe even props as well. I do think Carson Hocevar is worth considering in some facet this weekend. It's a
Hmm.
track where he got his first win out in the truck race, even though it was in a crazy circumstance a couple years ago. We saw how good he was at Bristol. I mean, he took a Spire car and was top three on speed
Yep.
until they had a catastrophic last pit stop. So I think the chaos that we see at Texas could help someone like Hocevar. Um, and even if it doesn't, they've come out here in 2025 and they've had legit speed. So, you can find 3 to 1, 3.5 to 1 for a top 10. I think that's not terrible. Obviously, oh my Lord, I just looked at FanDuel. Um, yeah, we're betting this chat. 8.5 to 1 for a top 10 for Carson Hocevar with the
What
they've
what
had
is
in
FanDuel
2025.
doing?
I'm telling you, it was a perfect lead off when we started talking here because they always have, typically they drop their top tens Tuesday night. Last we didn't get any props yesterday, which was weird. Like we had no top fives, no top threes last night or Tuesday night this week. FanDuel has dropped today, sometime this afternoon, I believe. And I mean, everywhere I look, there's some big discrepancy versus DraftKings or BetMGM. You look at DraftKings, Carson Osavar, plus 250 for a top 10. He's one more time, 8.5 to 1 for a top 10 on FanDuel. Top 10 at Talladega, should have had a top 10 at Bristol. He may still either finish 10th or 11th, but we know he had a top five car. So Carson Osavar, play some props. You get that for a top 10. You're going to get 20 to 1 probably for a top five, 19 to 1 on FanDuel for a top five. That's playable. I think there are several categories that you can play Carson Hocevar in this weekend. So man, that blew my mind right here live. I mean, I saw 3.5 to 1, and then FanDuel, of course, with some differences that do help us out as
Yep.
the betters.
One more nugget. He's had success on this track, one here in the Truck Series. So throw that on there as well. All right. Last that we've covered a lot of stuff, good stuff, nonetheless. So one more thing I want to do, Dale, I told you we do this. We're gonna build a parlay together, top three, top five, top 10. We've talked about a lot of guys. I honestly, I'm almost like to make this really juicy is the top 10 Carson Hocevar? Like I feel like that is one that feels a little bit juicy, but probably could probably happen, to be honest with you. Or do we want to go a little bit safer? We've talked about Reddick, Bubba, Logano is probably near even money, I would say. Gibbs, same thing. So I'm gonna let you choose the top 10, and then we'll kind of figure out the three and the five together.
Are we making this on DraftKings? I think that's the only to
That
me
seem
that's to me that's the only, and I know you used a different book. I know that DraftKings is the one that I use that I know will let you put those props together.
Yes, correct.
So,
So, I normally bet on Rhode Island Sportsbook, but when I cross state lines, Massachusetts, Connecticut, I'm able to open it up to FanDuel and DraftKings.
right.
But yes, I do
Yeah.
know 100% that you can build these on DraftKings. So we'll do it on there.
Mm, this is interesting because yeah, you'd love to go with the host of R1, but does it not just piss you off that it's plus 250 when you know you're getting it at plus 850 somewhere else? Like,
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't know. I don't know. I think I do kind of want to go safer. You know, a guy we hadn't talked about. We've talked about I've talked about one of his teammates, and he's in this underdog category. Alex Bowman.
Oh
Think Alex
yeah.
Bowman. You know, I see even money here. That line's probably not different. You're probably not going to get a big discrepancy from book to book there because he's been competitive in 2025 at a variety of different racetracks. He blew up at Bristol, which was a shame because he was running up front around the top three when that happened. Almost won Homestead, you know. So we've got different racetracks that they've come out and have been very fast at. So I think we'll go Alex Bowman for the top 10, right at even money.
All right. I honestly like the best. I kind of like Blaney for the top three because
Okay.
I feel like he's going to have the car to do it. It's really just going to come down to
Does
like,
he
does he
grenade,
not
man?
wreck? Like
Yeah.
what? So,
Oh, that's a
and
tough one.
like honestly, you look at it on DraftKings plus 275 for a top three. That's behind Bell, behind Hamlin, behind Reddick, Byron, Larson. So the value is there for Blaney, in my opinion, for the top three. Because then you go any beyond that, like really the value at like Chase Elliott is plus 550. You weren't super high on Logano, Briscoe. Like I think he's going to be good, but top three good. So I like Blaney for the top three at plus 275. So now with that parlay, we're currently at plus 650 with Blaney plus 275 and Bowman essentially even money for a top 10. So now we got to find the top five. What are you
Yeah.
feeling?
Yeah, this is tough. You know, we talked about Bubba Wallace plus 225. That's not super far off the best straight bet line you can get. You know, it's honestly, I feel like maybe a little bit of a travesty. We didn't talk about Chase Elliott defending winner here, 20 to 1 on DraftKings. I feel like that's kind of high. Now, that's another conversation, but a lot of pressure here for the top five, huh?
Yeah, the top like
I
again,
hate
I like Bubba. If we go with Bubba, that puts us at plus 2,300. It's a pretty damn good parlay. But we go to Chase Elliott, we're plus 2,500.
Yeah. Yeah. When I make parlays, I like, which isn't super often because they are designed. Look, we love to do them. I mean, I love making them, but they are designed to take your money, you know.
Yeah.
But um, I like to go on the safer end, you know, when I do craft these up. If I do have that wild hair, I still feel like I go safer. So I'm going to go Tyler Reddick. Let's go in the
Okay.
2311 camp. Tyler Reddick has proven himself here in RCR equipment back in 2022, winning, and he's had a shot to win here in other races too, like last spring. So even with issues, even with adversity, this team, this driver has found a way to run well. So I'll go Tyler Reddick, and that puts us at 14 to 1.
Yes. 14 to 1. There it is. So Ryan, well, let's do it. Yeah, this way. Yeah. Ryan Blaney, top three, Tyler Reddick, top five, and Alex Bowman, top 10 on DraftKings. It's the Johnny and Dale parlay Place it now while you can, plus 1400. I'm putting 100 on that. And I'm doing it. When can I get? Tomorrow I'll be back in Massachusetts, so that will be placed tomorrow morning.
I kind of like it too. I kind of like it too. I feel like there's strong potential for that to hit. I feel like Blaney and Reddick, as we've talked about, winning contenders. So if you don't have some nonsense, you would expect them to be in the winning conversation. If you're in the winning conversation, your top three and your top five. And I think Alex Bowman is just going to be there. I feel like
Yep.
he's going to be fifth to seventh. And to get plus money for that, for a guy that has run well inside the top 10 at several of these technical tracks in 2025, I like it.
I almost feel like the cleanest races so far, Blaney has like crashed out or had bad luck, and same with Reddick. Like, and so I almost am like, give me more chaos. Maybe their luck will like change and they'll just run where they're supposed to. In Bowman, he just finds a way. I feel like most of the time, like chaos can happen. He somehow always finishes top 10, like ninth place. But
Yeah,
um,
with Bowman, I just kind of like recency bias. He ran well at Talladega. He should have run well at Bristol.
yep.
Almost won Homestead. I feel like they've got more momentum than most would think heading into this race this weekend. So yeah, no, I like it. I think I'll bet it too. Not $100, but I'll put something on it.
Well, there it is. I'm excited about that one. Like you said, I feel like that's got a real chance to hit. But I feel like I say that every time I place a parlay. So we'll see what
That's what we
happens.
do.
Texas this Sunday, Cup Series stuff. But Dale will be bringing you some trucks on Friday night as well as Xfinity Saturday. We got a full stacked weekend for NASCAR. So excited about that. Dale. Thank you so much, dude, for coming on the show. Got to do this again. Maybe we can do it a weekend where you're going to the race. Get you amped up, get that firsthand betting experience that I feel like we need. So excited. Like I said, this weekend, I cannot wait. Where can the people find you?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. It's been really fun talking about it. You kind of I feel like I'm getting the sweaty palms when we start crafting all this. It's fun. So, at Dale Tanhardt on X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube is where I do the bulk of my video betting content. iRacing streams over on kick.com/Dale Tanhardt. So it's pretty uniform just about everywhere. You can find a link tree on one of my profiles that I just stated, and it'll take you through everything that we got going on. So, one thing to note, my dog just threw up, and I think it's because she
Oh,
heard us betting on. I screwed that up. Yeah, she just threw up because I think she just heard us talking about betting on Ryan Blaney.
yeah,
So
probably,
I can't
probably.
blame her. I can't blame her. So yeah, we'll see. No, it'll be a fun weekend, and hopefully we come out on top.
She went to sleep when we started talking about Briscoe. She threw up when we started betting on Blaney.
Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah. I don't know what happened, but
what
yeah,
a show. What a show. No, good stuff. Appreciate everybody watching. As always, if you're a first time viewer, first time listener, hit that subscribe button down below. Always want to know what you guys think. The fans put those thoughts, those bets, those parlays in the comment section below. And of course, give this video a like. It goes a long way for the channel. I say it every time we record. I'll say it again one more time. It's Dale. It's Johnny on the track. Let's go win some money. See you Sunday and see you next time.